Hey everybody, this is Nathan at Listen Up, and today we're going to be looking at the new Aria EVO X, which is the newest development, or should we say evolution, of the Aria series by Focal. Now, for those of you familiar with the Aria series, this speaker is going to resemble its predecessor in both appearance and sound with a couple key improvements. We're going to examine what changes were made in the design and how that's affected the sound. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Arias or Focal, this will be an opportunity to get a glimpse of one of the most popular speaker designs from one of the most globally recognized speaker manufacturers. Now, what makes the Arias so attractive is that they feature many qualities from Focal's highest performing speakers, like the Cantas or the Sopras, but at a more approachable price point. It may be Focal's best lineup in terms of performance to price ratio, and with all of the new improvements in the new Aria EVO X, even more so. Focal has also updated the nomenclature for their speaker lineup in a way that makes it a little bit easier to understand. For instance, the number 1 is a two-way design in a bookshelf or compact monitor cabinet with one mid-bass driver. The number 2 is a three-way floor standing design with two 6.5-inch bass drivers. The number 3, which is what we're looking at here, has three 6.5-inch bass drivers. And number 4 is bending the rules a little bit here, but has two 8-inch bass drivers. I should point out that the numbers refer to the speaker design rather than the performance. So each of these speakers is designed with the same materials and must meet certain performance levels. Deciding which one is right for you will depend on a number of things, including the size of your room, listening distance, and the other components in your system. The Aria series is also going to feature a center channel and bipolar surround speakers for a complete home theater system. We'll touch on that a little bit later and take a look at what makes these speakers so excellent for home theater and cinema, as well as two-channel listening. Okay, let's talk about the build. Focal speakers have a very distinct and appealing design, but many of the components within the speaker that make it so attractive are actually contributing to the sound of the speaker quite a bit. Now, the cabinets are made of an ultra-rigid MDF, which is a very common material used for speakers, mostly for its rigidity and its consistency. But you will notice that the sides of the speaker are in fact not parallel. This is to avoid any sort of standing waves and unwanted resonance within the cabinet. Now, the model that we have here is the Prime Walnut finish. There is also a high gloss black, which is very popular, huge favorite, and of course the newest high gloss moss green. Now, not every manufacturer has the confidence to come out with a green speaker. Focal does. Honestly, after looking at it, I very much like it. Now, on the floor standing speakers, there is an attachable base that is made of an aluminum alloy in order to decouple the speaker from the floor. The floor spikes attached to this base are adjustable and can be used to level and angle the speaker if needed. And it does feature a kind of waveguide for the bottom port. Since we're on the subject of ports, let's talk about them. The three-way speakers are both front ported and bottom ported. This is going to give us more impact in the bass as well as a very even bass dispersion throughout the room. This can also help the speaker be more forgiving of less than ideal placement, like up against a wall, for instance. Now, little side note here, a lot of these speakers' design offers an excellent sound even if they're not in the perfect spot. But if you can bring these out into the room and get good placement, you will hear just how well these speakers do perform. All right, so let's take a look at the drivers within the Aria series. Each of these speakers is going to feature the signature TAM tweeter, which is made of an aluminum magnesium alloy. Now, these tweeters are very rigid and very light for excellent transients. The inverted M shape, kind of a concave look, is something that you will see in most Focal speakers. This is a design that helps the tweeter keep its shape at very, very high volumes and high frequencies, and helps with widening the sweet spot. Now, the waveguide around that tweeter is also going to open up the horizontal listening plane. So once again, Proper positioning will give you the most out of these speakers, but the loss of detail is so much less when you do move from the best listening position. Now, the mid-range and the bass drivers are using Focal's very well-known flax sandwich cones. Now, these drivers have a very natural damping quality about them, and this is one of the biggest contributors to the near warmth and fullness that these speakers are so well known for. The mid-range drivers are also going to be using Focal's tuned mass damper, which is keeping the mid-range moving in a predictable and piston-like motion. This driver handles a lot of the frequencies with the most information for human hearing, which is what contributes to these speakers being so pronounced and highly intelligible. Lastly, the speaker is finished with a leather effect on the front and the back. It is a nice look, but also less reflective than the typical hard surface of most speaker baffles. Additionally, the grills are magnetic, which makes them effortless to pop on or off. All right, we're going to touch on the specs briefly. These are all 8 ohm speakers. These ones in particular are going to have a sensitivity of about 92 dB. Pretty efficient, actually. It doesn't take much for these speakers to make it out into the room, but that being said, they are a very revealing speaker. So, if you give these quality amplification, you will hear the performance reflected in these speakers. Now, these speakers feature 2 speaker binding posts on the back. There is no ability to bi-amp or bi-wire these speakers. The crossover components in the speaker is what you get, and that is certainly not a bad thing. The engineers at Focal did an excellent job of maintaining a consistent performance in the frequency handoff between each of the drivers. Now, if for any reason you do have to cover the drivers, the magnetic grille gives the speaker a more minimal look while still maintaining its overall aesthetic. Okay, the best part, the listening impressions. So, these speakers are just too easy to listen to. If you've been experiencing harshness in the speakers that you've listened to in the past, this speaker addresses just that. However, to call it warm would be to oversimplify. The warmth we experience in other speakers is often a result of resonance in the cabinet or maybe even a roll-off from the tweeter. This is not happening in the Aria EVO X. The tweeter more than exceeds the limit of human hearing. If there's audio information up there, these speakers are playing it. But these speakers are also very fast, which is why we hear so much detail that might have been hidden before, without the consequences of dominating high frequencies or bass notes masking the mid and upper ranges. In a word, dry. They do not embellish the upper frequencies and they do not overpush the lows. This adds up to an ease of listening, because the fatigue we can experience with bright speakers is simply not there. We're also not cranking the system to get more intelligibility out of them. Now, side note, protect your ears. Take listening breaks, especially when at louder volumes. Again, because of the forgiving nature, listening from different points in the room was always pleasant. That and the wider sweet spot makes these such a great design for a home theater, where not everyone will be in the best position. Now, in a 2-channel setup, it also offers the ability to play with the toe-in. Focal has recommendations for the ideal speaker positioning, but you do you. As far as music selection, the performance was very uniform throughout the multiple genres and types of production. One thing I absolutely loved about these speakers is how well they represented high-quality recordings. But even the music that is not considered hi-fi music sounded so good. And it was very, very present throughout the room. Vocals were so natural and so clear, and the cymbals and transients were precise and easily placed in the recordings. The bass, ever present and very smooth. Now, without a subwoofer, these sound fantastic, but there's not many speakers I wouldn't recommend adding a subwoofer to. But these speakers certainly push the point where a subwoofer is needed, which is going to be much, much lower. If you do add a subwoofer, you will need one that reaches very low frequencies with excellent power in order to keep up with the performance of these speakers. Now, I touched on this a little bit earlier, but we were fortunate enough to put these speakers on different amplifiers to see what the best pairing might be. Now, on a tube system, We really doubled down on the richness and immersiveness that these speakers offer. It was an incredibly musical sound, and I felt like I just could keep playing until I ran out of things to play. It was a very, very natural listening session. Now, however, when we did place these on an excellent solid state amp, there was so much precision and quite a bit more edge detail. And this was where we found out just how transparent these speakers could be. Now, traditionally, you will see these paired with 120 watt to 200 watt solid state amps. But again, these will give you whatever you put in front of them. So take your taste wherever you will. And as always, feel free to give us a call or drop us a line if you're unsure of what combination is going to give you the best of what you're looking for. All in all, Focal has once again produced an excellent speaker that is really outperforming its price point. It is so approachable sonically and is so satisfying to listen to and look at. They've kept our favorite aspects and taken them to the next evolutionary level. Now, if you'd like to get more information on these speakers or would like to see about getting these in your system, please reach out to one of our Listen Up consultants either online or in any of our showrooms. Thanks again so much for watching. Go ahead and give that like button a punch and follow us for more upcoming videos. We'll see you soon.